Hi, and welcome to Forbidden Face Off. I'm Andrew Berkshire, and this is my partner, Kishanda Vyboh. How you doing, Kish?
Pretty good. We've been spending all day together, so
Pretty good day.
you're still here. Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna do a show about heated rivalry, or I guess to start with anyway. And if it does well, maybe we'll look at some other stuff as well. But the reason why we're doing it is because I think we have a unique perspective that I haven't seen at least out there in hockey media. I've seen a lot of people who look like me, straight white dudes, talking about this, and that's becoming common. But I haven't seen people who are actually couples. And I think we have a unique perspective in that number one, we've been together for over 22 years, and there's a lot of depth that comes with that. But also, I've been working in hockey since 2012 full time, and my wife Kish has been a big book lover forever and has gotten into the romance books over the last several years and has a lot of, I guess, experience to draw from in that.
I'm very opinionated. I like reading. My sister dragged me into reading romance books, and I thought, actually, this is really fun. And it's just really fabulous to zone out because I don't know if you've noticed everything, but it's really nice to zone out from everything. I don't like hockey actively. I've never liked hockey. I used to get dragged to hockey games because my best friend thought some of the players were cute, did not enjoy it, did not think they were that cute. And then I married somebody who loves hockey and still failed to like hockey. At this point, it seems to be a skill.
However, now that Heated Rivalry has come out, I'd say it's the most interested in hockey that you've ever been. Not necessarily wanting to watch hockey, but you've asked me questions about hockey and how things work. And I think that there are a ton of people who are going to enjoy this series that are coming into it from the romance side of it or from like just TV watching side that are going to ask questions about hockey and want to learn about it. And what I've said the whole time is that ever since this series was announced, I think it is a huge gift to hockey that hockey was chosen as the setting for the romance that's being put out there in the drama. And I think hockey should try to take advantage of it by not necessarily just by grabbing the fan base of heated rivalry, but by creating media that speaks to that audience. And unfortunately, hockey's not very good at it because it's still a pretty homophobic sport overall. We've seen Pride Nights disappear in recent years, and there's lots of work to do. So maybe the NHL is saying the fan base maybe isn't so welcome, but it is here at Game Over Network, and this is part of what we're doing to make things a little bit different in hockey media.
And I'll clarify that I ask questions not because I want to learn about hockey. I'm so sorry. I love you. I ask questions because I am detail oriented and I like to nitpick the books I read and I like to know when they're wrong.
So that's where we're coming at it from. We're going to come at it from the hockey side and the romance side, try to blend it together and come up with something pretty interesting here. So we're going to go episode by episode. We haven't watched ahead because I wanted to react to each one as it comes out and not have the knowledge of how it ends while we're going into each episode. So let's start with the pilot, the premiere episode, the first one.
Do they do pilots anymore? Because I don't think that was a pilot.
I guess technically not because it's streaming, right? Pilots were more for TV.
I mean, that is TV. Technically.
But it's not on cable, right?
Okay, fine. My point is I just don't think it's a pilot.
Okay. The first episode.
Did I tell you I'm detail oriented and annoying? I'm very detail oriented and I get really stuck up on small useless details, which you are probably aware of.
I mean, I do that too, just in hockey.
Yeah, this is why we get along.
Yeah.
Okay, I rewatched last night because the thing about romance novels is I love reading them, and I am always in it for a good time, not a coherent time. And much like Seasons of Survivor, I watch it, I love it in the moment, and then my brain just sort of flushes things, and I keep the vibes. So, as much as I am detail-oriented, once I'm done with that thing, I'm like, well, that was enough of that. I need to make space for other things now. So, I rewatched. I wrote an excessive number of notes. And now I will read these notes.
Yeah, so let's get into it. The first episode of Heated Rivalry. The first thing that I noticed is they started with the World Juniors, which I thought was smart.
Oh, I believe you mean the International Prospect Cup.
Yes, obviously they need to change all the names of things, but I enjoyed the references to things that I've followed since I was a teenager, and the whole thing is very Crosby versus Ovechkin coded.
Yes,
but
you
like
told
with a
me that,
twist.
and I giggled for a full 2 minutes
Yeah,
because that's exactly what it is, and I didn't notice. And then everybody online was like, obviously it's Crosby and Ovechkin. And I was like, that would have been right over my head.
yeah.
I would not have noticed it all.
It's interesting. During the first episode, I realized I would be interested in watching like a dramatized Crosby and Ovechkin coming up in the NHL. You wouldn't want to,
No, I don't want that.
but it wouldn't be as good, I don't think, because like the relationship is such a huge part of like it is the show, right? But it was interesting. Just the hockey side of it, I found interesting right away, which I didn't expect.
I did not find the hockey side interesting.
That's okay. Yeah, so
The romance is really good, guys.
but the first scene, they kind of like immediately set up the character dynamic.
Yes, that was very good. They have a very clear, like, Shane is the good boy who tries hard and does well and does his homework and cares about others. And he's going to go introduce himself to teammates. And then Ilya is very much the bad boy who smokes, who doesn't give a shit, who is confused about why this kid who's his competition is coming up to be nice to him, because why would you do that? It's like very, I'm going to say tropes entirely too much, and someone's going to realize I probably don't entirely know what the definition is of tropes, but that's okay. Again, we're in it for vibes. So it's very like tropey to me for that you have like the good one and the bad one, and they're set up to be sort of diametrically opposed rivals.
It's interesting like how much that is it fits into the tropes of romance novels, but also it fits perfectly for hockey as well, because in hockey we would call Shane a good Canadian boy. Good Canadian boy, that's how they refer to those like very prim and proper, very like does things the right way all the time.
But if you tell me a good Canadian boy, it sounds like you're saying he raped somebody and I shouldn't be that mad about it.
I mean, that is unfortunately the hockey side of it, yeah, with the World Juniors especially. But yeah,
Uncomfortable.
They don't set up Shane that way.
That's not
obviously.
that. Shane's actually just really nice, guys.
Yeah, they don't delve into that part in this show.
As far as we know, we'll tell you when we get there.
But I thought it was interesting that like Shane's character makes sense for hockey, as does Ilya's, because they're like the post-Soviet Russia, the way that players like Canadians used to be seen as the more outgoing of the two, whereas the Russians were very like reserved and like the communist idea of how people should behave, right? And now it's the total opposite, that the Canadians are very, very reserved now, and the Russians are the ones who are like very showy and outgoing, and Ovechkin was like that, still is, right? When he came into the NHL, there was people who were upset because of how cocky he was.
He turned to me and said, right, like I would be like, oh, I remember that. I got nothing.
Sorry.
It's okay.
That's okay.
Well, yeah, he was like that.
He was. But I thought it was interesting that hockey fits so perfectly into that. Just like they're very real, identifiable hockey personalities that do exist, and is like slotted perfectly into a romance story.
They're also very, like, it's a very romance setup. Obviously, I'm reading a lot of pretty gender normative romances because I'm pretty straight. There's some wonderful queer books out there that I want to read more of, but I just haven't at this point. And it does set it up that like Shane is written like more of the female main characters, in that he's a bit more reserved. He's nice. He wants to do right by others. And Ilya is the asshole who he's supposed to hate, but then can't. And it's very tragic.
And I say I really enjoyed all of the different like references and shout outs to hockey that were in there. Clearly Jacob Tierney is a hockey fan. I know he's a Montrealer. I know he's worked with a friend of ours, Jay Baruchel, who made the movie together, The Trotsky, which if you haven't seen, great Canadian movie. But yeah, it was really interesting how many hockey references there were. And I thought that the guy who impersonated James Duthie as like the guy setting up the World Juniors in this show, good impression.
Wouldn't know. So we watched it and I was like, this is very fun and nice. And then obviously my timeline, and this is part of why I told you I really wanted to watch the show, is entirely just media from the two guys who played the main characters. Interviews, clips of them goofing around, edits of them looking attractive in the show, like my entire feed is just that. It's really intense. I don't hate it. It's very fun. They seem like the two nicest people. And then part of the media around it was a lot of people saying the character of Shane Hollander is written to be very autistic. And didn't see that until after I watched the first episode. And then I was rewatching it last night and I went, oh, yes. They definitely wrote him. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but he gives off. There's like a lot of autistic traits written in there. In that, like, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but he's always overthinking. He's always watching other people react, and then you can see him panic and be like, did I do something wrong? You watch him replay it in his head and go, did I say the right thing? Did I sound right? Do they hate me now? Do I hate them? Did I say something wrong? And then when you put him in front of media, this area where you can sort of practice your media literacy and what you're going to say in front of media, he's very good and very smooth, and he can put out these really well done statements. But then you put him one-on-one in a personal situation and you just watch him like freeze like a deer in headlights. And Ilya says anything to him and he's like, I don't think he's mad at me. And that inability to read those different emotions of people, or to take people at very much face value when they tell you something, is often a very autistic trait. And that was, rewatching it was like, oh, yeah, no, they did do that.
Yeah. I thought this first episode was doing a lot. Like,
there's a lot of heavy lifting.
There was a lot. Like, you're selling the hockey atmosphere and like the setting of it. You're also creating a dynamic with the two main characters. You are creating a dynamic between them and the sport, because, as we mentioned, the sport's a little bit homophobic, so there's a secrecy involved, which isn't necessarily the case for most homosexual relationships nowadays, at least in North America. Obviously a different situation in Russia, which they also hint at in this first episode. So on top of that, there's also like the parents' conflict. Like, there's a lot of things going on in that first episode.
Yeah, they've written the parents as very oppositional as well, in that Shane's parents are really sweet and loving, and also, I mean, there is very much some helicopter vibes to me that Shane's mom kind of runs his whole life and is like, Shane, you have to do this, it has to be like this, don't forget, you're aspirational, you're a role model. And you can see it kind of crushing Shane into, I have to be the best version of myself, and there is no margin of error for me to be myself if that means I could endanger others. And I feel like that is also a very autistic trait that he's trying to mask in front of others to be who he's expected to be. And there's a bit of that panic about, if he takes off that mask, how many things in his life will he lose? If he takes off the mask and admits he's gay to his family, is he going to lose that relationship? Because that is a potential reality, whether we want to say it should be there or not. It's a reality of coming out for a lot of people, which is really unfortunate. And then you have Ilya's parents, who, I guess it's just his dad. His mother is dead in the show. And his dad's just pretty terrible. His brother's pretty shit. I thought they also did a really good job in writing it, that at some point he's on the phone with his brother, and his brother uses a homophobic slur talking about him. And it's a good way of wrapping it up that, like, his family does seem to know, consciously or subconsciously, I don't remember.
Or at least his brother.
At least his brother, yes. They know to some degree that he's probably interested in men at some level. And there's also, using the homophobic slur right off the bat is like, they don't approve, they don't like it, they look down on him for it. So it was a really easy way to set up that relationship by throwing in like one really quick line.
I feel like there was an implied threat from his brother. Like, it wasn't stated, but it was like, give me money,
or I'll out you.
Essentially. Because it's much more dangerous in Russia. Like, maybe it wasn't, but that's what I picked up.
Dangerous in sports.
I know. But I mean, like, Russia, like, you could get arrested, right? Like,
yes.
They're very draconian about
it's legally. That, however, give it another year and it might be dangerous in the States too.
I mean, probably already is.
So.
Yeah, unfortunately. So we're not trying to like compare different places and decide one is better than the other. Just talking about the actual, like, the details that they put into this and how much of it actually does make sense within the context of both hockey and romance.
And on the romance side, they did such a good job of, because, like, for me, again, as the girl, so, like, Shane is my main character in this. This revolves around Shane. they do a really good job of in romance novels, because this is like a very typical sort of. I'm going to say sort of and then backtrack all the way. It's like enemies to lovers in that they're supposed to be enemies, but they will definitely be lovers. You can have different versions of enemies to lovers. I feel this is one of them. And there's that idea in the enemies to lovers where like one of them starts to fall for the other in some way. And it's that like they can't stop looking at them. And then they're going to write it off as like his stupid face. I don't even like him. And then they're going to keep looking. It's going to be like his stupid, beautiful face. It's so perfect. And I hate him for how beautiful it is. But I'm also staring at his lips all the time. And I feel like you don't have the voiceover. And yet, if you've read enough romance books, you can kind of hear the voiceover in your head. You can hear Shane thinking it. Like when they get to the competitive hockey boy is going to be competitive and they're racing on their little bikies.
After the draft and they're exercising in the gym, which also, again, if there was no romance in the story, I would have still believed that scene because that's just
Boys?
athletes. Yeah, boys, but specifically athletes, right?
Okay,
'Cause
wait,
they're
so World
hyper-competitive.
Juniors, how old are they at this point?
17, 18, 19. They would have been probably 18 because it was their draft year. Or I guess it depends when they were born, but it doesn't really matter. Teenagers. And I believe in the show there was a year in between their draft before they made the NHL. So they're like 19 at the beginning.
It's entirely possible. There are so many time jumps, and
Lot of
my
time
brain
jumps.
just sort of fizzes them out and goes later.
Yeah. But the point being, during that work or after the workout scene when they're sitting down, and it's a very normal situation for athletics, for hockey, where they worked out and then they're just sitting around chatting, but it's filmed in a romantic way. Like when we were watching together, right away you noticed that like the way that they keyed in on like Shane looking, the camera would be his point of view looking at certain parts of Ilya, and then it was the other way. Ilya's looking at certain parts of him. They didn't have to say anything.
But it's them noticing each other
Yeah, it was smart.
in ways that are
smart
less than
filmmaking.
straight.
Yeah,
Not quite straight.
and it was like it was cute. You know, like they were sharing. I think it was a water bottle, and they just like touched hands. And then
Yes,
when
and then
you
you
passed
know
back,
it would be like, I felt a spark of electricity. I told myself it was nothing. Like, literally, I've just read enough, and you can sort of fill in the text as you go. There's certain things that crop up all the time.
Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting, like that whole dynamic and how simple the little touch is. And then when you pass the water bottle back, Ilya made a point to touch him again. It was like there was something there right away.
And then it would be like, did he touch me on purpose? No, it couldn't be. He hates me. Why is he doing this? I can't stop looking at his lips. It just fills in my head. I've read too many.
But it, like so much of it, like even from the hockey side, they had the trash talk at the beginning where Ilya was like, "Yeah, we're gonna beat you," and he's like, "What? No way!" And then obviously Ilya's team Russia did win at the World Juniors, and he gets drafted first overall. Shane gets taken number 2. So there's like a bit of a conflict between them of like who's the best, which is interesting as it carries out as they make the NHL as well.
Also very like romance, but also this was one of the things that I said like, oh, we should really watch this, was I saw so many things discussing that this was a series that was meant for you to be actively watching, not to be on your phone at the same time, which I'm massively guilty of. So they were saying these actors brought so many micro expressions, and you want to be watching their face to see how they react and how they feel about situations. Again, so romance, and that they'll write it as like, I looked at him and I thought I saw a flicker of rage in his face for a second when another man touched me. I thought I saw a flicker of jealousy. I thought I saw a flicker of a smile when I said his hair looked nice. So they're like, romance novels are very much written to have these like flickering micro expressions. In my head reading it, I assume looks really dumb. Like some guy being like, But like when they did it, it works, and it just feels like beautiful and amazing acting where you're getting to see how somebody feels, somebody who's unguarded and somebody who makes mistakes. And that was another point I was making to you the other day, that I saw a meme going around that was like, the reason you like Heated Rivalry so much is that none of these actors have Botox, and you're not used to seeing how a face moves when there's emotion involved. And I went, ooh, ouch, probably. I'm not against that theory.
And going back to the hockey again, because I know that, but in a way that is more on the romance side as well. I actually appreciated when they showed in the shower scene after the video shoot, which we'll talk about the video shoot soon, but both of these guys clearly worked out hard on their butts because they both had hockey butt.
Yeah, I mean, half of Connor Storrie's interviews are, Connor, why is your butt shaped like that?
Hockey butt.
How did you do that?
And it's like those little attention to detail things that, like, yes, this is mostly a romance story, and hockey is just the background upon which the romance is.
Hockey is the setting.
Yes, it's the setting for the plot. But they have, like, throughout the production, they've paid so much attention to little bits of hockey that it feels so authentic, like, right away. And yeah, part of it is big butts. Like, Crosby has a legendary butt throughout the NHL.
Really?
Yes.
How big is his butt?
Very large.
Like if you had to guess, what's the differential between his waist to butt?
I have no clue because I haven't personally been in the room. But from everyone that I know who's, like, done their reporting and interviewed them, they're like, yeah, giant butt. And I know, like, Jaromir Jagr back in the day was famous for having a giant butt.
I've literally never heard this.
No?
No.
Hockey butts is a thing.
I mean, that's great. I'm not mad at butts. I mean, my notes for the shower scene just say bums! Exclamation point. Because there's a lot of bums. And then you said you saw a girl on TikTok who is a hockey player's wife.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like, conversations that have been started because of this. Lexi Lafleur, yes.
Yeah, and she was like, boys don't do that in the locker room. They do pee on each other. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
that sounds true.
yeah.
I am grossed out, but that sounds true.
There's some weird stuff that happens in the showers in hockey.
So if you watch the hockey scene and you wonder if they really do that, no, apparently they pee on each other. So,
Pretty gross.
but it sounds right. I believe it. She said
Yeah.
it and I went, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
After that, they had their video shoot. And that was one of the parts where when we watched it, you went, actually?
Yeah.
And I loved it because I live for actually. And he went, actually, in this time frame, they would have all had visors on and they shoot them without a visor. And the premise is sort of like, well, maybe they're doing it because of the glare off the visor, but it's like a really important part of hockey work safety. What is the name for that? OSHA?
Player safety, I guess.
Player safety?
But more than anything, like, on top of, like, I think that was for NHL stuff, but when they're filming stuff for NHL hockey, if they're going to have a helmet, it will usually have a visor on it. And if they want the face on there, they'll just not wear the helmet.
But like the grown-up hockey players don't have to wear a visor.
No, they do. They have.
do?
Yeah, they've had to for a long time.
When
Now,
did they start?
early 2000s, I think.
But they don't have to have the cage.
No, they don't have to have the cage. That's only for under 18.
But like they should all have it. Because why
Probably.
are they all missing so many teeth? I don't like that. Butts, yes. Missing teeth, less.
Yeah, there's a lot of missing teeth.
I would like teeth.
They don't like the cages because you have to look down and you'll lose the puck. It's harder to see. But yeah, I mean, hockey players have always fought tooth and nail against their own safety.
Couldn't you put the visor just extended down?
Yes, there are longer visors, but then the further the visor goes, the more you breathe on it and it fogs up. And when that happens in play, it's...
Couldn't you drill holes in it like a Jason mask?
They do have half visors with the bottom being like plastic with cutouts in it. But again, I think they just don't like it. I don't know. Hockey players are very particular. These are people who, like, meticulously change every piece of equipment that they have to personalize it.
I just feel like you should value your teeth.
You should.
I just feel like if you gave me the choice of like, this one will definitely let you keep your teeth, but this one you might breathe a little easier, I'd be like, I think I want my teeth.
Yeah,
And I'm confused by people who aren't making this
but
decision.
with hockey players, it's more teeth or score goal. And they're like, oh, this one.
This is why I'm not in competitive sports. I don't get it. Having a functioning body when I'm past the age that I will be doing the sport is more important to me. I want to have a functional body. I want knees that work. I want all of my teeth as much as possible. I don't know. I don't get it. I'm not competitive in this way at all. From the shower scene, they have that little talk. I might knock. I might open. And you're like, ooh.
Yeah, the will they, won't they.
Maybe he's gonna show up at his hotel room later. And then that whole like getting into the hotel room and then backing him against the wall and kissing him was like, that's a romance novel. And that works.
It did.
And everyone likes that. Everyone enjoys that.
Everyone enjoys that.
Everyone wants to live like this, Lana. That was definitely the part where I went like, this is my own personal definition based off my own vibes. But I did not read this book. To me, I feel like based off what I'm seeing in the show, and I've heard it's a faithfully good adaptation, this is what I would call erotica versus romance, in that there is just so much sex.
Yeah, I was surprised at how much there was.
Yeah, like a romance novel, you have to build up at least like 3 to 5 times where they almost kiss, and then they just kiss, but somebody interrupts them, and then they touched a private part. But there was a reason, like a phone call came in, or somebody walked into the room they were in, and then they had to stop. And then you don't get to the actual sex until like halfway through or more. And then even then, it depends. It depends how much of the sex they're going to show. Whereas this right off the bat was like, there's going to be graphic sex. Let me tell you what they're doing. And you're not sitting there going, I think he might be touching it. You're like, no, I know exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, they weren't shy about,
No.
I guess, insinuating, but like they didn't show actual sex because it's not pornography. But they weren't shy about showing body positioning and movement. Like I was surprised at how forthright it was about what was going on, just because you don't really see that in like homosexual relationships in most media.
Even in general media, they cut real fast.
Oh yeah.
They're like, anyway, they did the thing.
Or they're like lying together with a sheet in between them.
Yes. Just as, everyone does immediately after sex. Who amongst us doesn't wrap our entire body in the full sheet from our bed and then walk around the house? I think that's
normal.
definitely how everyone does it.
Mormons, maybe.
Someone does it. If you did that, I would freak out and be like, why did you pull out that sheet? I had that sheet nicely tucked in. What is your problem?
The difference between real and storytelling.
I'm very upset with you. Don't do that.
I won't.
Okay. I also feel like a lot of people have been talking, and very rightly so, that it's like really nice to see queer people have a moment where their joy and passion is celebrated, because you just don't see it. And when we do see queer people in a lot of pop culture, it's used as this moment to reflect on like, look how terrible their lives are. Look how bad everything is. And it reminds me very much, this is totally off topic. I want to say when our eldest was in kindergarten or grade 1, they had a school fair. We give them money. It's Scholastic Fair. Kids, I loved that. My kids love it. And my elder came home with a book about being a trans boy. So being trans mask. He picked it and was like, I brought this. And we were reading it. And I'm reading this book. And I was kind of like, this is a shit story. Not that it wasn't like, oh, my son, my child brought a trans book home. That was fine. I didn't mind. But the story was like, I am a kid. I came out as trans. My family accepted me. The end. And I was like, this was not an interesting story to read. And then I had to stop and reflect on the fact that like that is important to have. That is important for kids who are trans to see these books that say you can come out and be supported and live a happy life. And there is like an aspect of that here to me, that we have a queer story that's not like, and then one of them was murdered because they were gay. Because yes, that does happen. This is like, they found joy in each other. Point final. That's it. Like that's the point of it. Just that you can have a happily ever after.
Yeah, and there's tension set up because it's a queer relationship, and there's like, I guess, looming conflict set up with like, just because of the danger of the NHL and just the culture of it all. But in terms of their relationship, there is a lot of joy there, even though there's a lot of like discovery and.
But they film it as like, look how happy they are.
Yeah,
and they are so happy, and it's so cute. And then they have in that sex scene where Ilya orgasms first and then rolls over and is like, okay, I'm gonna leave. And then deeply autistic Shane panics and is like, what? And then Ilya's like, no, like it's a joke. You wouldn't do that. No one would do that. But because Shane takes everything at face value, he has this total moment of drop of like, wow, I guess this is what happens. This is what I did to myself. And you watch him like castigate himself for everything he's done leading up to this point. Little baby Shane.
He's so nervous. But it also makes sense in the context of like...
It's his first time.
First time, but also who he is as a player, right? Of like, you are that guy who's supposed to be perfect. You're not supposed to make mistakes. So like, this thing that could be interpreted poorly, you're very nervous about it. You're not like you're worried about showing people your real self, you know? Like it's very interesting dynamic.
Some of that for everybody. Everyone's a little nervous about being too much or too weird for people in their lives. And then trying to find the people in their lives for whom they can be too much and too weird, and it'll be wonderful.
It's true. Everybody needs that. You need to be able to be weird with your people.
I'm so weird. Anyway, after that scene, they had this whole scene, which you might have forgotten, where Shane meets with his parents at a restaurant, and like immediately the helicopter vibes of his mom being like, I ordered you a meal and it's very healthy. And you're like, oh no. And then what I thought was really funny was that like Shane is talking about like, oh, sorry, I'm late. I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube. And then he has to stop and explain what all of those words mean to his dad. And then I sat there being like, man, do you remember when you could rabbit hole on YouTube and it wouldn't just lead you to Jordan Peterson?
Yeah, I mean, that was weird because I had to like remember in my head when the setting of this is, which is like the mid 2000s when YouTube first came about. So it was like that was a new thing. It wasn't just that his dad was clearly a boomer.
You just didn't know.
It was brand new.
Okay, but also in that scene, his mom is talking about Ilya bragging or winning. I don't know. Details? Whoop. Vibes? Yes. And she turns to Shane and goes, yeah, fuck him. And then Ilya like teased to himself and he's like, hee, I want to. I loved it. It was so dumb. What else did I have here? Oh yeah, then they have this part where they're having a game. They're like on the ice together. And Ilya is like sort of trash talking Shane in a face off. Does that happen?
Definitely.
Do they trash talk each other?
Definitely.
Do we know what kind of trash talk happens? Like, have they ever been hot mic'd doing this? And has anyone gotten in trouble for it?
The players know when they're wearing a mic, and they usually don't say the crazier stuff when they're wearing a mic because...
But, like, there's rumors of crazy stuff.
Oh, there's things that have come out. Like, Brad Marchand is famous for a lot of trash talk.
He's the one you said, like, will occasionally kiss a dude to freak them out?
He's done, like, kissy faces. He's kissed visors. He's licked people. I don't remember if Brad Marchand has actually bit people or if that was just Alex Burrows, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brad Marchand had bit somebody. He will take every possible advantage that he possibly can.
It's just weird because these are professional players, and generally, in a professional setting, licking and biting is frowned upon.
Usually. I mean, you do get in trouble for it.
Also punching, to be fair, and that seems...
Not as frowned upon.
Not as frowned upon either.
Yeah, it's a weird sport, but it's fun.
One of my favorite things that came before this, but has like very much amplified, is the insistence that a lot of women have now on calling all hockey rinks boy aquariums. And then all of the hockey, whenever they put a puck in, I like to consider that enrichment for the boys. I like that. I'm keeping that.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed how some people call the draft the boy auction.
Oh,
because that's
new. I like that.
Kind of what it is.
It is a boy auction.
It's really awkward when you think about it. They are like deciding who gets to control the lives of these children. It's
very Hunger Games.
It is a little bit. I mean, that's why Hunger Games is a thing, right? It borrows from sports as well as war and oppression, right? Like,
uncomfortable.
A lot of the things that we do in sports are a little weird.
I also feel, okay, we've only seen 2 episodes, so maybe I'm talking about nothing. But Ilya, there's been like a couple subtle references in the episode. Not really subtle. There's been a couple of references to his dad starting to come down with Alzheimer's. I'm like, oh, that's heavy.
Yeah.
That sucks and that's sad. I don't know if it's in the book, but you don't see a lot of books that will tackle like dealing or caring for elderly people going through dementia. Tourist Season did. I just read that one. That was more dark romance. I enjoyed it. And it was the female lead was caring for an elderly serial killer with dementia, because when you're reading a dark romance, somebody has to be a murderer, but there has to be some sort of justification that makes it A-okay.
As far as we know, no murder in Heated Rivalry.
No murder.
Maybe we should end every episode with you suggesting a book.
Here's an unhinged book that's unrelated. I also just really enjoy how bad Shane's French accent is. And by all accounts, in the press interviews, he just seems to be not as good with French. Like, Connor Storries seems to be significantly better at French. Which is hilarious that this Canadian is being beaten by a Texan Californian at French. But, I mean, that's also very accurate that he's supposed to be from Windsor, right? Yeah. Is he from Windsor or is he just drafted in Windsor?
I think he's from Ontario anyway.
Yeah, Ontario. Because that's it. When you live in not Quebec, even sometimes here, and you're an Anglophone and you learn French as a second language, you don't really learn shit. You learn how to regurgitate a handful of things. You learn je suis, tu es, il est, elle est. And you just learn that over and over every year and you learn no French. I went to French immersion school because I'm better.
It's true.
And I lost all of that French when I went to an English high school, but then I got it all back living here and working in French. My accent's very good. And when I say very good, I mean people get confused and they ask me what country I immigrated from. And then I say this one. Confusing for everyone involved, but the point is, it sounds like I have a good French accent, but maybe that I'm not from Canada.
Whereas my French accent sounds like...
He sounds like he's from Canada.
No, I sound like Steve Martin in Pink Panther playing Inspector
I
Clouseau.
would like a hamburger.
That's me speaking French. I'm working on it, I promise.
He's done a lot of work, and he is much better.
I try.
The press interview with the little foot tappy taps.
Oh, yes, was that for the All-Star game?
Why would I know that?
They're put together for a press conference at the All-Star game, and a reporter asks Ilya about, playing for an original franchise, the Boston Bruins of this universe. It's clearly the Bruins and the Canadiens. And they haven't made the playoffs in a while, and they're like, do you feel the pressure to make the playoffs? And clearly, even though he's a very cocky person, between his dad and his family and like the very real pressure of playing professional sports, he does feel pressure. And yes, it's a second language thing, but also he is not nearly as media trained as Shane, because Shane's grown up in like the Hockey Canada environment his whole life. He's probably been doing media like Crosby since he was like 12 years old, right? They're talking about superstars here. It's just a different thing.
And he has like
Canada.
the canned expected answer. That's
Exactly.
like charitable to both sides and kind and is meant to be like, wink, wink, nudge. We try so hard and we hate each other. Tee.
Yeah. So while Ilya is flustered under the table that the reporters can't see, Shane puts his foot against Ilya's foot and just gives him a little comforting tap or comforting touch. And I thought that was just really cute.
Somebody pointed out too, there was a woman who does photography, cinematography, I don't know, something about filming on TikTok. And she was saying when you look at those scenes, you have that idea that there's a crowd. There's a scrum of reporters, but they never once show them. You just hear the audio. And you see that a lot in a lot of the different scenes, in that it's filmed in a way that suggests a crowd is there without ever having to show or pay for the extras in that crowd, which is just a really smart budgetary use to transform something, because you can't have every scene be small and intimate without ever suggesting other people are involved. But you can't always afford to pay for all of that. So it's really well done shooting.
It is. And like, this is one of the takeaways that I had from that first episode is, we know that because this is a Canadian show, this is made on Crave, which is a streaming service here in Canada. I think it's owned by Bell, but partnered with HBO in the States and all that. This was a very low budget show. It doesn't feel or look or sound low budget at all.
It feels really well produced.
It feels like a premium TV show. Like people in the States are continually say it's an HBO show. Yes, because it's on HBO Max down there, but also it feels like an HBO show in quality.
And an amount of sex and nudity.
That too.
Anyway, then they go to Nashville and they have their All-Star game. I don't remember if they have another name for it because they probably can't say All-Star, which feels a little weird now that the NHL is co-opting this to advertise for themselves.
Yes.
But that's fine. And they show them doing the hockey accuracy. And if you don't like hockey, All-Stars is almost good hockey in that there is no hockey involved. They all go to a rink and then compete in weird mini tournaments. It's like Physical Asia, but one-on-one, so Physical 100. And then they just do these really pointless drills. When, like, the one they show on them, they put up little targets in the different corners of the net and they have to shoot it. And then they should call that hockey archery, which makes perfect sense, and I will not elaborate. And if you want to get into hockey, try that, because it's just them testing their skills against each other. Did it work for me? No, but it's fun.
When I was a kid, I used to love the skills competition. Now as an adult, I'm like, how is it so slow? It takes like 4 hours to do, and it's very low energy. They need to redo things a little bit, but as a kid, you like that stuff because you get to see who has the hardest shot, who's the most accurate, all that kind of stuff. It's fun.
Yes. And then after the All-Star game, Shane and Ilya totally hook up again. And this is the time where they sort of have discussion about, are they going to have penetrative sex? And then you see Shane kind of very realistically panic about talking about sex and anything sexually related, that he just doesn't know how. And I feel like that's very accurate for a lot of young boys. A lot of people in general just struggle to talk about sex. So it's really nice to have that shown visually and to see that he's there with Ilya, who's clearly much more experienced, who's like, it's fine, I don't care, we can talk about this. And you do kind of need, everybody needs a hoe in their life to talk about sex things with, to make you not panic and to be like, no, that's a thing, let me tell you how it works. Ilya is Shane's hoe, and that's very special.
He's just the more experienced one who can teach him stuff.
Yes. I've also been enjoying, this is going to be a really niche reference, no one's going to know, you're going to get it. Every time they show a teammate, and because this is my entire feed, I am entirely aware that the dude they keep showing in a lot of these shots is going to come out as gay later in the season, and I'm going to cry or something. This is my understanding. And he's always the one in the other shots, and it feels very Harry Potter musical. What are the odds out of all, if not 5 Gryffindors? It's that. Again, shooting, budgetary. But then also I kind of know that I'm like, oh, this is going to be important later. Which is also very romance, in that nothing happens in a romance book unless it's important to the plot.
Yeah.
So if they say a single detail, if they're like, he left out a coffee cup, which was weird for him. Anyway, I ignored it. And then that's like crucially important to the plot later for some inane reason.
Of course.
So I don't know if that's what they're setting up or if it's just budgetary, but it makes me laugh because it reminds me of a Harry Potter musical, which is the only aspect of Harry Potter I can still enjoy.
Yep. And I think on top of like setting that up, it's also a practical thing, not just for money, but in terms of filmmaking for filming hockey. It's just going to be difficult to find legit actors who can also skate at a good enough level to seem like you're a hockey player.
Yeah, I think I read they have actual juniors players body doubling for them.
Which makes sense, right? Because honestly, usually when they try to film hockey, it doesn't look very good. So leaning into having actual hockey players helps a lot.
Oh, hockey question. What is WAG? What is a WAG? What is?
Wives or girlfriends, or wives and girlfriends.
I was going to say that's WOG.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
So, yeah, I know. It comes originally from soccer, I believe, or like European football. That's where like the terminology was made up. Probably from England. Just sounds like an English thing.
I just think it would be much funnier to call them PPs, partners and pals.
Partners and pals.
This is inclusive. Are you bringing your PP with you? And hilarious.
And also, there's power plays, right? PPs. So you've got like a double meaning there. I think you found something.
I just think that would be better. And how many boys would not enjoy giggling while being like, I'm bringing my PP. It's better. I just think it's better.
It is superior. Inclusive. WEG also it has always felt to me a little bit like insulting.
Yes.
It feels insulting, just the way that's the word
WEG
sounds.
feels like you're being derogatory
about
girls. And a lot of boys talking about women in general, especially in the field of hockey, does feel very derogatory. So that's a point. And also one of the wives was a brunette. And from all of the wives I've seen, this seems rare.
Very.
I don't know why there is this like predominance of blonde partners for hockey players, but that seems visually to me, the girl who knows very little about this, like they're predominantly blonde for some reason.
Yeah, I guess that's just a status thing, right? And one of those weird things.
I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of blondes.
Hockey players love the blondes.
Apparently, this is what I'm told. How important are hockey awards? How important is that for you to win if you're a hockey player?
I mean, it depends. I like that they're setting up like a little rivalry between them. A heated one, actually. But
I see what you did there.
In general, they're more just conversation pieces. Like you'll have your like award that you take home, but you're not, unless you have it baked into your rookie contract, you're not necessarily getting a bonus from it. There's like notoriety that lives on from winning an award. You know, you're always going to have your name on that award. But at the end of the day, most people aren't going to be like, well, we won like the Player of the Year award, so therefore it doesn't matter that we didn't win the cup. Like, people want. That's the one that people care
You get the
about.
cup, and this is like miscongeniality.
Kinda. I mean, it's not miscongeniality because you can get both.
Do they have a miscongeniality award? Do they have Mr. Congeniality?
No.
Missed opportunity.
The closest they have is like sportsmanlike, most sportsmanlike, which is the Lady Bing, which for the longest time NHLers didn't like winning because it's called the Lady Bing. And, you know, being a sportsman is not necessarily highly sought after in hockey.
That's problematic for me.
Lots of
don't like
problematic
that.
stuff in hockey.
I don't like that at all.
And then at the awards ceremony, they talk after, and there's some...
They like go up to the rooftop, and there's this moment where like Ilya's clearly not having a good time. Shane just won, and Shane takes it as this personal affront that like, why aren't you in there cheering for me and being happy for me? And that's sort of one of the moments where it vaguely comes to a head for Ilya, that this feeling of like Shane is loved and supported, and he has nothing, and he's about to go back to Russia for the summer, and he's like, I am miserable on the inside, and this isn't about you, and you're making it about you. And for Shane, it's this feeling of like, you're always winning, you're always beating me, and now that I got something, how can you not be happy for me? And it's such a like very romance. It's almost a miscommunication trope that like they're just failing to tell each other how they're feeling, but then they kiss, and you're like, yeah.
But then they break apart the kiss because Shane's freaking out that it's in public, and they're like, "What are you doing? Think." And yeah, there's a tension there because of that. But I genuinely enjoyed that scene because you've got two people who have very different upbringings that are in a romantic relationship, that neither of them fully understand the pressures the other person's dealing with.
No, they're both approaching it from a very self-centered part of themselves.
Which makes sense based, number one, on their age.
Yeah.
Right? And number
Who
two, on the
amongst
fact
us?
that they're professional athletes. And like everybody's a little bit self-centered. But also, like one thing that I thought was an interesting thing that I haven't thought about too much in terms of like queer relationships or queer relationships in media is you've got two guys who are not very good at talking about their emotions and how they feel.
This is not surprising.
Right? Because men are just, in general, not as good at this as women.
Men are not taught
Right.
how to communicate. We do that much more now with kids, with this generation. But like you were, I mean, how many times were you sat down to discuss your emotions?
Not often.
I mean, it's not a critique of the parenting that our parents did. You know, they were all working with what they had.
For sure.
It was not a cultural thing you did, so you just didn't talk about it.
I
You
mean,
don't have a vocabulary for it.
emotional regulation just wasn't part of the...
No, and discussing relationships is a skill, and if you don't work on that skill, you're gonna kind of suck at it.
Well, especially for queer relationships, because it is something that still is stigmatized in our society, you're going to have less experience navigating the emotions of those relationships outside of secrecy, right? And so that it adds a whole nother layer of not necessarily will they, won't they, but like tension in their relationship and like a push and a pull that
Reasons
sets things
why
up
they
down
could
the line.
have a really big argument where they like won't talk to each other for an entire summer and be really mad later, but then have really hot sex about it after. Romance novel.
It sounds like you're talking about the next episode.
Oh my god. It also just sounds like a standard romance book, and I'm not mad at that. Like, listen, the tropes work for a reason because we want to read it and we want to be like, oh my god, they showed up at an inn with just their bags and it's raining out, and what do you mean there's only one bed left? They work for a reason and we enjoy reading them, so I'm never mad that like, oh, it's the thing I expected, because I want the thing I expected to happen. I'm reading a romance for a reason. I don't want to read a romance and then find out it's actually a tragic commentary on, I don't know, wealth distribution. I wouldn't be mad. I'd read that anyway, but like, it's not what I went in for. I went in to read a story about two people figuring out they loved each other. That's the point. If I don't get that, then I'm kind of upset because this was not what was described on the package.
Yeah. So I would say after this one, the first episode, we're going to talk about the next episode on the next show. But this first one, I would give like the application of hockey as like the background setting and the execution of using hockey at like hockey moments, a 10 out of 10. Like, it
Very
was
good.
so smooth how they melded things together. I was very impressed. And on the romance side,
We got a wrap.
my computer's about to die. On the romance side,
On the romance side, that was exactly what I expected it to be. I was blown away by how well they translated it seriously without making it a joke, and I'm super excited to watch more.
let's do it up on Forbidden Face Off on the Game Over Network.